My name's Joe Marino, and I'm here to welcome to the Smarter Digital Zoom room, where you are actually part of this whole web stream life. And what you can do is that you go to smarterdigital.com.au/live stream. The link is there. And you just click on the button that says online, and you'll then be put straight through to the Smarter Digital Zoom room. And you can ask me any kind of questions. You don't even have to show me your face on the camera. You can just kind of be there in the shade, in the shadows. Maybe you want to talk to me about a photo that you've taken maybe recently. Now, if you wanted to have a look at those shots, though, you'd have to actually be at the smarterdigital.com.au/live stream link in the Zoom room, so that you'd be able to see all those kind of things. Oh, there's a like. Someone sent me a like. I don't know who that is, but it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to kind of have that. I'm actually running two cameras. I'm running a camera known as a Mevo camera, M-E-V-O. That's what's live Mevo streaming. And Mevo is a live stream camera specifically for live streaming. Oh, hello. There we go. So there's things happening. I have to let you. Oh, there we go. And so I just had to press the right button. It's connecting to the audio. And this is where I kind of say, welcome, Miss Dizzy. How are you? But that didn't work. And now I know, because there's a little microphone that's come up next to my friend Dizzy. And how are you? There she is. Oh, you do get there eventually.
Yes, I know. Eventually. I gave in and I've uploaded it and done it and connected. Hi, I haven't seen you for ages.
Well, there you go.
This is great.
Oh, thank you. How are you? Happy Easter. Happy chocolate day.
Healthy Easter to you. That's all I'm wishing, is everyone healthiness. Oh my goodness.
And how's your day been? Have you been taking photos today?
Yes, you know that I've been taking new photos, just different style photos. I've been obviously stuck on Instagram and looking at photographers.
Yeah.
And I'm highly influenced by one guy called Frog Said on Instagram. And obviously he's based in Korea, which I love.
Right.
And his style of photo is just, well, number one, it's at night. It's very rare that I take photos at night. And so I thought, okay, let's try something different. Make the use of, this zombie land we have to live in for a little while. So sticking with a fixed lens, sticking with almost a fixed aperture, so around 2.8 f4.
Okay.
And just sticking with that and just trying to see the world through that just one particular lens.
Just keeping a consistency, yes.
Yeah, just using the Happy M5 because it just fits in the handbag.
The mirrorless system is such a great system. It's so much smaller, and it's such a great. And you've got a fixed lens on it. So it's a Canon 50mm EF lens with an adapter.
Yes.
How are you finding that?
I love it. Look, if I want a wide-angle lens, I've got the little M5 wide-angle lens that comes with it. Fixed
lens photography really puts you into a different category of thinking, because you don't have that changing your zoom all the time. It's kind of, do I shoot there or do I shoot here? You are shooting like this, and you've got to almost know where to stand before you even stand there, almost, because you know where you need to be. And I actually do love shooting street stuff in a longer zoom. I tend to use like a 90mm plus type thing. So up that area there, a lot of people think that street photography has to be in the wide angle world. But I like it more the other way. I think you get a lot of creativity with that.
I'm just photographing differently.
You've been shooting around your around your area where you live, right?
And that's something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
It's something I've always wanted to do, and I thought, no, that's it. Every walk now, doing our exercises.
Yes.
I take the camera with me, and even the kids are seeing things differently. They're going, oh, I never saw that before. Didn't know that
Yeah.
was there.
And walking does that. I mean, I've always loved your style of it. I mean, you know, you're living in other parts of the world. You're going around on your bike, and you kind of just, you know, to be able to just stop and just take pictures of the area. I mean, that's just so cool.
And look, you think, oh gosh, yeah, I live in the suburbs. How boring! Oh my God, there's so many interesting things around, and the lighting and whether you go for a walk in the morning or an afternoon.
Yeah.
It's okay, still your suburbs, it's still the local streets, you know. I take it as a challenge to everyone. Photograph differently to what you normally would. Use the different lenses, use the different settings. Yeah, so the other night I just thought I'll try and get at least one person in a photo. Yeah, that was fun as well.
I know, like when I travel and I use lenses, I might take 4 or 5 different lenses with me, but today I'm just going to walk out with one lens and that's it. And I always try and make them a fixed lens, and you just look at things differently. I remember us doing a night course that night around.
Yeah. So as you taught me, yes, that's right.
Yeah, that was a good night.
Yeah, making use of all those poles and trees and
holding
the breath. No, breathing out as I'm taking
breathing
the photograph, not holding the breath.
Right.
So,
Is this your first Zoom?
This is my first Zoom.
Oh my God, this is your first Zoom.
Using it for school.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Zoom is the bomb. So there's a beautiful button on, and you can do it on your phone as well. So if you touch the screen, you'll see a button that kind of says share screen. And when you go to share screen, it allows you to share anything that you have. So I might, for example, share you my screen of my Lightroom, for example. And that's one of the really cool things about this Zoom thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I'm back. And that's kind of how that works. So
all right, so I guess we can share photos with you, and we can have you analyze them a little bit, or
that's exactly what this show is. That's exactly what this show is all about. Okay. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, 9 p.m. And Julie Kimpton is watching. So Julie Kimpton, hi Julie. You'll be going, oh,
hi Julie.
Joe, that was a long time ago. And welcome Ben Howcomb.
Hi, buddy.
Hey, how are you? Welcome to the show, the Smarter Digital Zoom.
It's good to see you, mate.
It is, likewise. How have you been? How's isolation treating you as a photographer?
Photographer that's now got no work, mate. It's awesome.
Well, I got to say, I guess it's just a really good time to catch up on all that editing you've never really wanted to do, and to also just be able to kind of catch up with, you know, everything else, you know, cataloging and all of those kind of things. I mean, have you been starting to do all that stuff, catching up?
You know, I've got one more wedding to edit. So I was in the middle of that tonight. I'm about halfway through, and then, you know, when you kind of just need a break from it, you start flicking on Facebook, and then I saw your face come up and I went, Joe, brother.
So tonight I've got Ben Howcomb from 7 Chairs, who's a massive photographer. We've known each other for a long, long time.
I'm a bit older now, though.
Look, hey, I'm kind of, you know, I feel like, I know you're probably working more than I am. So that's why you've got more grey than I am. That's probably what it is, you know. So.
I think it's the kids that's causing the grey hair, though. That's what it is for me.
Yeah. Hey, I love that octagon light you got in the background there. That looks the part.
This is my little studio. It's my double garage downstairs. That is my office studio. I'm actually sharing my space at the moment because my wife's also working from home. So she set up a desk behind me. So she looks at the back of my head while she works away.
I'm curious about that. So, hey, what are you shooting with nowadays? You've got a Z series camera, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got. So I run three main bodies: D4S, D850, and Z6.
And with the Z6, what lens are you using with that?
So I've only got the one Z series lens at the moment, which is the 24-70 f4.
Right.
The main reason I bought the Z6 was for video.
Right. Okay.
So I run a Crane 3 Lab gimbal.
Right.
Which works really, really well with the Z6.
A gimbal, for people out there, is something where the camera sits in so that you've got a steady cam situation going on, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Simplistically, yeah. And like with the old days, like with the 850, would you be using the autofocus system with that camera, or would you have used that more in manual focus for the video?
I use that. Yeah, for video side, I'd use that in manual focus. So I had a push-pull motor attached to the gimbal. I was using the Xeon Crane 2, and I used to fight with it every single time that I would use it.
So
it was the fight to balance it.
Right. So with the Z6, are you using the autofocus for the video, or is it still manual focus with that as well?
Autofocus now. So all I do is I track a subject.
Yep.
I just touch on the back of the screen. And then it just does a brilliant job of autofocus.
Right.
And that was the main reason I got the Z6 was for the video side of things.
So the Z6 is that's a 24 megapixel or higher?
Yeah, 24.
Right.
So I looked at between the two, full frame. Between the two Zs, the Z7 is more photo biased, the Z6 is more video biased. Both of them are quite capable still cameras in their own right.
Right.
I use the Z6 all the time. Like I realistically, I did some motorsport the other day, and that was the first time I'd had the D4S out in probably about 2 months. Yeah, I was actually really trying to have a comparison of how well the autofocus tracked on the Z6 so I had the FTZ adapter, the 200 to 500 on the Z6.
Right.
And then I'd pull it off and then put it onto the D4S, and I wanted to have a play side by side and see how they compared. And I was absolutely blown away with just how quick the autofocus is, like how well it tracks. Like, I probably shot too much.
Basically talking to Ben Halcombe from 7 Chairs Photography. You can also follow him on Facebook. That's 7 Chairs. Maybe you want to ask Ben a question. Ben is with 7 Chairs. He takes beautiful images. We've known each other for many, many years, and maybe there might be a question. He's a great function photographer.
I find, especially with weddings, right, and I find some, and I've got to be careful not to upset people here. There are some wedding photographers that get to the reception and then they really just chill out and don't do a lot. Whereas I find I still like to shoot my own receptions. And I just find that at that reception, there's so many moments that happen that the bride and groom don't get to see. Yeah. And I actually enjoy that. As much as I'd rather be at home with the family, I enjoy that, seeing things before it happens and capturing the fun stuff on the dance floor and all that sort of stuff that happens in the background, that when the bride and groom look at the photographs afterwards, they sit down and they're like, wow, I didn't realize that was happening and this was happening. And I feel quite strongly about that. So yeah, I do enjoy that.
I have that with music photography. So for me, being a bit of a musician, to be able to capture that moment that people, when they're really getting off playing their instrument, to capture that moment that they kind of go, wow, do I really look that ugly, or do I really look like that when I'm getting, and I can feel it. So to be able to be looking at that in a wedding, it must be very satisfying, I guess, when the people are looking at your photos and they're saying, wow, that's a really cool feeling when people like what you do.
Oh, look, I'm actually, one of the things that I've done, with the change of the business, I reached out to all of the bride and grooms that I've shot in the last probably 7 years that hadn't done albums, that haven't ordered an album with me. I've reached out to all of them and gone, while you're probably at home not doing a great deal now, I'm also here and I've got more time. So if you wanted to do an album, I've put a special out there, because I use Memento Pro. They're a Sydney-based, really, really good quality photo books and albums. So I reached out to them, and I reckon I've probably got, probably 60% of those have come back and gone, wow, we'd forgotten about that. Yeah, we should do a book. We should do an album. So, for anyone out there that's, that's into that sort of stuff, like it's not a bad thing to do, to, just think about that and go, well, what other things can I do? Because one thing I do say to people, Joe, and you and I both teach, and one thing I say to people, though, the business of photography is very different to the art of photography.
Yeah, I think you really kind of nailed that, because it really does make it does make a difference. Ben and I have been doing a few classes together up in the mountains in the days. God, how long ago was that when we were doing those workshops? We had some great fun there actually at your studio. It was a cool little setup.
Oh, they were good. They were good. That little place they had up there was good. You know, we should do that again actually now.
And you're closer.
It was about 4 days in the saddle for you to come up to Glenbrook, wasn't it, eh?
Oh, man, I got to say, you know, I really struggled in the morning. By the time I got to your place, I was just hanging for that coffee and just to kind of go, right, let's get started here, you know, and you just kind of like just woke up and thinking, oh, good, okay, let's get into it. Like, I've just been off the road being seen by cops, you know.
Oh, at least you're only driving in a straight line. Like from your house, I think there's only like from from your house to where I was in Glenbrook, there was literally, I would say, no more than 6 turns.
True, yeah. As you got off the freeway, that big turn left up the mountain, and your car kind of goes, oh, I'm struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
But, I just want to kind of just ask you, I mean, you show your photography from the markets. I just love that kind of series that you do for them. You really kind of, that must be a lot of fun doing those ones.
And I love the Sydney markets is one of my most favourite clients. You know, like they're just such a great bunch of people. It's such a family down there. So they made a decision probably 2 years ago now that they really wanted to push a much better quality image of their social media page. So if you jump onto, you know, like Sydney, like Paddy's Markets at Flemington or Paddy's Markets at Haymarket, either of those Facebook, Instagram pages, you'll see a lot of the stuff we've done down there. And what the whole theme sort of came about, especially with the people side of things, was Charlene, who's my main contact down there, was like, and we were talking about it, and you know, we'd shot a few things down there, and I said it'd be great to do because there's so many characters down around the markets.
Yeah.
You know, all the people that work down at the markets, there's so many characters. And I said to her, I said it'd be great to do like a you know, almost like a Humans of New York, but at Sydney markets and tell the stories behind. And funnily enough, even Charlene, her dad used to own a stall down at the markets. And so she's grown up around the market. So she really understands how the traders work and what actually happens. And like that stuff we do down there, like it's so much, it's a lot of it's natural light. So I don't get a lot of time to, you know, set things up. A lot of it is on the fly, like bang, 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 bang. And you just, the old saying is, if you see the photo through the viewfinder, you've missed it.
Yes.
You know, because by the time you see something through the viewfinder, that moment's totally changed. So you have to be looking at what, you know, what's actually happening around you to be able to then like see that vision of what you're trying to create. So
yeah, right.
I love shooting down there. It's so much fun.
So were you using the Z series camera in that? Because I noticed when I started to see that, I saw the gimbal working. I could see that. Were you using the Z series at that stage, or were you still on the older the other cameras?
Both, a bit of both. No, I like both. One thing I've really had to do though is change my way that I autofocus on the Z6 compared to what I've been used to doing on my Nikons since Jesus was a boy back in the day. So the focusing systems has always worked the same way. And so when I moved over to the Z6, I really did have to change the way that I think about subject tracking and because, you know, if you're going to work quickly with a camera, you have to really understand the camera. And it actually took a bit of time. It took, you know, like I had to take it to quite a few jobs, and, you know, there was a period there where I wasn't, you know, as happy as because I wasn't producing what I wanted, like, and I just sort of had to tweak how I used it to be able to get the end result. But yeah, now I'm very used to it now. It's sort of, because that camera becomes an extension of your hand.
Yes, absolutely. So how long have you had the Z camera? I don't think I asked you that.
Picked it up. I think I picked it up in November.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, about November I picked it up.
Right. Graham, you picked up your Z camera just recently as well. Would that have been around the same time, Graham?
October. I picked mine up in October.
Right. Oh, okay then. Right. Yeah. So, because I think the cameras were only really just coming out around at this time as well. So,
I've got to say, like, I'm still not ready to go completely mirrorless. I still have, like, my D850 is probably one of the most beautiful cameras I've ever used in my entire life, and I've used a lot of different stuff, different brands. I've used everything, and that D850 just never fails to perform. Like, we shot the I have a team of guys that help me shoot. We shoot the Arnott Scala ball every year.
yep.
And so we had that on just before all this COVID-19 stuff. You know, we're so lucky to get that ball out of the way, because that's one of Arnott's Foundation's main fundraisers. That ball.
Right. Yes.
And
Right.
there's usually about 800 people in the room. So, you know, obviously that's why a lot of my work is non-existent at the moment, is because primarily I photograph groups of people in,
Yes.
you know, groups of people. And
Yes.
when you can't have groups of people more than two, it's a little hard to photograph groups of people.
Yeah.
But shooting at the Arnott Scala ball, like, you know, the Z was nice. The Z was nice, but that D850, it just doesn't miss. Like, it allowed me to get stuff. And like, I mean, I was shooting with, so I actually had one of my guys, well, there's three of us that normally photograph that job, because it's that big a job that it takes, you know, I used to do it on my own, but now I've got, so Andrew King and Jack Ham. But yeah, look, takes the three of us to shoot it. But like, that night was just, there was certain things that the Z was nice, but the D850, it just is such an amazing camera to use. It just,
so the
never lets me down.
the D850 is how many pixels is that camera? Just so I don't have to look it up all of a sudden.
45.
A 45 megapixel. Right.
45.
Okay. So, and in low light performance, all right, pretty good.
It's ridiculous.
Better than the D4
Yeah, no, it kills it.
in low light.
Literally. Yep. Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
So the old rule that we used to say, oh, well, you need low megapixels to get high ISO performance. That was what we all used to say.
Yes, absolutely.
I've kind of got like, now with the latest speed processors, mate, like it's really how they process the actual, how they process the image. So, I mean, if I was going to go out and shoot Astro, I'd shoot it with the D850. I wouldn't shoot it with the Z6.
Right. Okay. With your using when you're shooting your stuff, are you a RAW shooter?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
everything's in RAW.
Yeah, and that's not in the RAW. That's that you shoot RAW files. So we just want to kind
of.
No,
definitely. No, we don't show them. We don't show the man bod to anyone, mate. No chance.
You said you were using Memento Pro 2. So that's a kind of you download a whole pile of templates into your computer and you put a book together and then you send it away. Is that the kind of way that works, Ben?
Memento photo books. As a normal consumer, you can go and buy Memento photo books. They're Australian made. They're made here in Sydney. They're like just a really good bunch of people to work with. So Memento Pro is for the pro photographers. That is a separate side of the business that does, we get access to books and designs and paper stocks that the general consumer can't. And look, so there's some software that they've developed that works really well for album layouts. It just does an amazing job. So we've actually just, one of the other jobs I did this week was laid out a new wedding sample album. So that was one of the jobs this week to get that off into print, so that, you know, once things pick up again, like obviously all of my weddings for basically for this year have already moved to next year.
Right.
So once we sort of come out of this and start to then move into that, you know, booking stage, it was just time. While I'm sitting here at the, in front of the computer, I may as well get stuck into stuff like you were talking about, get stuck into your editing, you know. So that was what we did. We made a new album that's then one of the sample albums here to show people. So.
Right, yeah. I mean, printing is such an important thing today, and I guess in the wedding world, the importance of a book. Do you find that you still get people who might not want a book; they just want the files? Is that something that you get asked for?
With my weddings, we have different packages. The entry level package is just USB only.
Right.
And to be honest, a lot of people do go with that. But then I give them the option that if they, you know, purchase that time of booking, then they do, you know, they are able then to, you know, get an album package. But most people these days go down the path of digital only, and then come back and lay out and design an album. But can I tell you, even when I laid out this new album, like I haven't laid one out in probably 12 to 18 months. We've just had the same albums there. When you see it in printed form, your photographs in a book, you just go, even in the digital layout of an album, like when you do the preview, it's amazing the difference do you know what I mean?
People don't realise there is a certain feel about looking at a book, touching the pages. It's something that I feel like we've lost that because of digital photography. Digital photography makes it that we have this instant gratification. The photo gets taken and you see it on the back of the camera, or you see it on your phone smart, and it kind of gets lost. And because also we take so many photos, and we kind of get drowned by a whole pile of photos. And I guess the advantage of having something like in a book form is that it really, each page is like really presenting a piece of artwork, I guess, and a memory for those people who are actually seeing themselves in probably a much different light. I mean, I've always said, print your photos and feel your memories. And I think that's the beautiful thing. I'm so glad, Ben, that you've got so much passion for the wedding photography. And, even though we've known each other for a number of years, to kind of just had that little conversation has really kind of opened up, I think, more about you and just, your passion to photography. And I guess, our journey together.
They're lucky it's not finished yet.
No, well, that's absolutely right. You've been a great buddy of mine for many years, and Graham has hit the thumbs up button. So that's either he wants to tell me it was a really good show, or he wants to ask.
Well, yes, it was a really good show, and yeah, thanks, Ben, for your insight. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Thanks. I'm a late coming to all this, but the more I seem to learn, the less I seem to know. So it was very nice hearing your insights. And yeah, I use Memento too for my better photo books, and then I use Snapfish for the general ones.